All right, so we're still on the building a nutrition label. We're starting off with steps 52 and we're going all the way to 68. This should totally complete us for this 4 video series. If this is your first time watching, my name is Rob and I'm with PreCodeCamp, where we're going through some freeCodeCamp stuff and where we're coming at it from the angle of an instructor and you are learning it. So we're not just filling things out, we're not just doing the task, but we're trying to explain it to you on why we are doing it and what do each one of these maybe CSS properties here do for us. So if that's something that interests you, this is your video. Something that you can do here for us is go ahead and like this video, because that is something that you can do to help out that YouTube algorithm. All right, very important to us. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so step number 52 in building a nutritional label, it tells us that we want to add a new paragraph element right after our divider here. So let's go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and close that off. Next, it says in here that we would like to have the text of trans fat 0G. And again, anytime that they give you this gray little box, I would type it out or copy it exactly how they have it, because the test will fail if you don't. It says it wants the italicized word of trans, and we need to wrap it in an I tag. So I is for italics. And if you're ever wondering what's the difference between the I tag and the EM tag, for example, that has to do with some semantic tags. If you have a screen reader, the screen reader will interpret an EM tag. So again, what I'm talking about is if this was an EM, and on the right-hand side, we had an EM as well. That would stand for emphasis. But because we're putting the I here, screen readers will not treat this any different than normal text when reading it. So that's one of the things that is different here. Next, it says give the P element, the paragraph element, a class attribute of indent. So we're going to go ahead and copy this so that way we do it exactly. So I'm going to come down here on the P tag. I'm going to do class. I'm going to set that equal to indent, no divider. And then it says wrap the trans fat 0G, 0 grams, in a span element for alignment. So what it's asking us to do here is we're going to go ahead and wrap this part right here in a span. So a lot of stuff going on with this. Where does it end? It goes right before that paragraph tag, and we'll put that right there. So opening and closing tags on it, and that is to assist it with giving it the proper indentation for here. Let's go ahead and check our code. There we go. We're moving on to the next step. Step number 53, it tells us that after our paragraph tag, let's go ahead and add another divider. So I'm going to copy this. If it worked for us before, it should work for us again. And I'm going to hit the enter key here and just put it down there. And then let's check the code. There we go. Moving on to the next step. All right, so step number 54 in building a nutritional label, it says that after the divider, go ahead and create a new paragraph element. So again, I'm just going to break this down into a few steps. So there's our paragraph element. Next, it says, let's go ahead and put that cholesterol 0 mgs, 0% inside of the paragraph tag. There we go. Again, I'm copy and pasting because I don't want this test to fail. Next, it says wrap the cholesterol in a span element and do the same thing with the 0 and give each of them the class of bold. So I'm going to do the following here. I'm going to put cholesterol on my clipboard and I'm just going to do span, and then I'm going to close it off. Again, I'm just focusing on the tags first, and then I'm going to modify what's in between. So I'm going to paste the cholesterol in there, and then I'm going to give it a class of bold. Okay. So now we see that text is bold. Next, it wants us to put another span on this one here. So I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to Control X or Command Exit to put it onto my clipboard. Then I'm going to do the same thing, span. I'm going to close it off just so I don't forget. I'm going to come back to in between it, paste, and then it does want the bold on here as well. So class bold. There we go. Now let's go ahead and check the code here. Oh, we didn't get it right. It says we need to have exactly 3 span elements. Maybe that's because I forgot to read the next part here. which is finally nest the span element containing the cholesterol along with the 0 mgs. So it wants one more span on this. So I'm going to highlight this, which is the cholesterol and the 0 mg. I'm going to Control X or Command X that, and then I'm going to do a span. And what we're doing here is essentially, because there's a flexbox here involved, it's doing the same thing that we did before, but we're treating it as if we only have 2 different things on here instead of 3 individuals. So let's go ahead and check our code now. And there we go. Congratulations. We're moving on. So we make mistakes. I just forgot to continue on reading. I thought we were done. All right, moving on to the next step here. All right, so step number 55 in the build a nutritional label. It tells us that below our last P element, let's go ahead and create another P element. And we're going to create the sodium, 160, 7%. And it wants us to do the exact same thing that we did for the one previous step of step 55. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat the system here, and I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to paste it down below, and then I'm just going to tweak what it is asking me to do. The very first thing, instead of cholesterol, this needs to be sodium. And instead of 0 mgs, it wants it to be 160 milligrams. And then the percentage, it wants it to be 7. Let's go ahead and check our code. There we go. Congratulations. Our label is filling out quite nicely. Moving on to the next step. Step number 56, and build a nutritional label for freeCodeCamp. It tells us below our last paragraph element. Let's go ahead and do another one. This time it's going to be the total carbohydrates. So let's go ahead and do this one. One of the things that I will bring up here is notice that, again, very specific. This is 37 grams, and we've been using milligrams. So just keep that note there for you. But I'm going to do the same thing that we did in the previous step. I know it doesn't work well with coding practice, but we'll at least get this correct here. We want this to be the total carbohydrate. So I'm going to make sure that I copy it from up there, paste it there. This is going to be 37 grams. So again, take off the milligrams, 37 grams. And then for the percentage, this needs to be 13. All right, let's go ahead and check our code. Congratulations, it passes. Our nutritional label is looking really good. All right, moving on to the next step. Step number 57, with build a nutritional label for freeCodeCamp, it tells us that below our last paragraph element, let's add another paragraph element. So in this case here, I am going to type it out, even though we might have a working example above, but I believe this way is going to be shorter. So again, opening, closing tags of the paragraph. It says that we want to make sure that we give it a class that would be necessary that will not only indent it, but remove the dividing border. Again, we have examples of it up here where we want to indent and then have a no divider. So I'm going to go ahead and put that there. Obviously, I do need to have a space between that P tag and the class. Next, as far as the text goes, I'm going to grab it directly from the gray box, and I'm going to paste it in between the tags. And then lastly, it says on here, go ahead and create a divider below the paragraph element. And we've done that before, so I'm going to grab this and move it to down here. All right, so we got the dietary fiber. We don't have that underline. We do have that class of divider that's stretching all the way across. So that all looks great. Let's go ahead and check our code and see if it works. Perfect. We're moving on to the next section here. Step number 58, and build a nutritional label for freeCodeCamp. It tells us that we want to go ahead and add another paragraph element when we also want to add another divider, but this time we want to add these to our paragraph elements. Again, we've done it already, and I believe that we can just copy these last 2 lines that we did prior, and we're going to go ahead and paste them here. And this needs to be total sugars, 12 grams. So let me do that. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and see if that is what it wants. Check our code. Congratulations, we're moving on to the next one. Step number 59, it says the advantage of creating these dividers is we're able to apply specific classes to the style individually. So go ahead and add a double indent to the class of this last one. So Let's do that. Double indent. Let's check our code. Congratulations. Let's move on to our next step. Step number 60, we're going to create the double indent selector here. So double indent. And then we're going to set the left margin. So margin left, and then to M. And you can see that the divisional line here shifted over compared to where it was before. Let's go ahead and check our code. And there we go. Moving on to the next few steps here. We're almost done. 88%. Step number 61. It tells us that below your double indent element, go ahead and add a new paragraph element with the text of includes 10 grams added sugar 20%. Your new paragraph element should also be double indented and have no bottom border. Use a span to make the 20% bold and right aligned. Then create another divider after the paragraph element. So a lot of stuff going on in this one. Let's go ahead and break this thing down. So below the double indent element, let's go ahead and add a paragraph element. So there's our paragraph. Perfect. Next, it says the text needs to have the following inside of it. So I'm going to copy it and put it in there. That paragraph element that we just got done creating, it needs to have the class of double indented and no border on the bottom. So we can come down here and we can say the following class double indent. And then the next class that it wants us to put on there is the no border on the bottom. And so that happens to be the no divider. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that and hit the space bar and put that in there. Notice that the bottom border is now gone. And then it says that we need to put a span around the 20%. So let's do that next. I'm going to get rid of this, and then I'm going to do my span. Again, that good practice of opening and closing right off the bat. And then I'm going to paste that 20% right in there. Let me shift this up so you can see it all in one line here. And then it wants us to give the class to the span to shift it over to the right. Again, we've already had that class. We've done it before on the daily value. So we're going to do right for that class. So we'll do class equals, all right, let's double check to make sure that we got everything done before we hit the test button. So it looks like I missed the bold part. So I'm going to make sure that it is bold down there as well. So not only does it need to be shifted to the right, but it needs to be bold. And we can see that it is now bold here. I believe that is it. Oh, it does say then create another divider after the paragraph element. Again, I'm just going to grab one of these and paste it down here. And I think that should work. Let's go ahead and check our code. Congratulations, 90% done. That was a big one as far as an ask. Let's move on to these last one here. Step number 62, and build a nutritional label for freeCodeCamp. It tells us that after our last divider, let's add a paragraph element text. This time it's going to be protein 3 grams. It says add a span to make the protein bold, and then wrap the text of protein 3 grams in its own span. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we also need to create the divider, a large divider. So let's go ahead, take this thing step by step here. So a paragraph element, protein 3 grams. So that's what I'm going to do. Paragraph element. And then I'm going to grab the protein 3 grams. Okay. Next, it tells us on here that use the necessary classes to remove the bottom border and then a span to make the protein bold. So 2 steps here. We're going to do a class. We're going to set that to no divider. We're going to take this protein. We're going to add a span on it. I'm just going to do open and close here. Inside the span, that's where we want the protein, but the class, it wants bold. All right, let's scroll up to see what else they need. Wrap the protein and the 3 grams in a new span element. So we can see how they're like separated right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the entire from span to span, and then I'm also going to encapsulate the 3 grams. I'm going to cut it so I can put a span in here, and then I'm going to paste what's on my clipboard here. So you can see how they are now grouped together. And Let's see if there's anything else that we have to do as far as this goes. I don't see any other classes that we have to work with. It does say following this element, go ahead and create a large divider. So let's take a look at what we have to do for it. We have some examples already. If we look at line number 19, we have this divider here where it's divider and then large. And that might be what it's asking for. But if we take a look at the calories, trying to see if there's anything else there that says divider medium, and it wants the large. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm coming down here, and at the very end of that paragraph tag, we're going to go ahead and do that part there. All right, let's check the code. I'm hoping it passes. There we go. Congratulations. Let's move on to the last few steps here. Step number 63, and build a nutritional label for freeCodeCamp. It tells us create another paragraph element. Below the large divider, give that paragraph element the text of the following. I'm going to go ahead and copy this right off the get-go. And right below the divider large, I'm going to get a paragraph tag, open and close. Then it wants the text in there. So there's the vitamin D. And then it wants us to utilize a span element around the percentage. So that way it treats it as a separate entity. So again, I'm going to use the cut shortcut to cut it. So it's on my clipboard. We're going to do a span. And then inside here, I want to paste that percentage here. So now it is shifted over to the right side for the justification there. All right, let's check our code. Congratulations. We're moving on to the next step. Step number 64, and build a nutritional label for freeCodeCamp. It tells us create another paragraph element, give it the calcium, 260 milligrams, 20%. Align that 20% to the right. And then below, we're going to do another paragraph element for iron. And we're going to do the exact same thing for the 45% there. So what that's telling me is we've already done the code for the vitamin D. Let's go ahead and rinse and repeat this a couple times and then tweak it to our needs. So the very first one is going to be calcium, then 260 milligrams, and then 20%. So I'm going to type in the 20%. I'm going to come down here and paste the calcium, and this is going to be 20%. Next on here, it wants us to do the iron. That's going to be 8 milligrams, 45, but it wants the 45 to be aligned to the right. So we'll just memorize that part there. And then this is going to be 45. Okay, let's go ahead and check our code on this. There we go. We have completed this step. Let's move on to the next one. Step number 65, and build a nutritional label. It tells us create the final paragraph element for your daily value section. So don't be confused here. We're not adding this to our section. It's just describing it here for us. So here's our daily value section. What it is wanting, again, just a rinse and repeat of what we've done before, but this time we want the no border on the bottom. The no divider class needs to be added. So I'm going to, again, copy this. I'm going to paste it. Next, I want to put in here the potassium, 235 milligrams. I'm going to memorize the 6% and put that in its place over here. So we just need to make this 6%. And the class that we need to put on here is no divider. All right, let's check our code. Congratulations. So step number 66, it tells us that we need a medium divider that is after our daily value element. And below that, we're going to need to create a paragraph element with the class attribute of note. And we need to go ahead and put in all this text that you see right here. All right, so let's break this down step by step. A medium divider. Now we have an example of a medium divider up here. I believe it's right where the calories might be, right here, line 27. That's what we want to copy to our clipboard and bring it down here. So that is going to be our div, and that satisfies the medium divider. Next, it says it wants us to add a paragraph element just below this. So that's where we're going to do the paragraph, open and close. It wants us to give it the class name of note. So let's do that. Class of note. And then in between the paragraph tags that we have, I'm going to copy this to include the asterisk and paste it in there. Now, we don't have any kind of class for the word note or for the class of note. So I believe that's what we're going to be creating next here. So let's go ahead and check our code. Congratulations. We're moving on to the next step. Step number 67 here, it says that on the note selector, let's go ahead and add the font size to be 6 rem, and the REM is root M. So again, if we scroll all the way up to the top, I believe the font size that we set here was 16 pixels. So when we're utilizing this numerical 0.6 rem, we're taking 0.6 and multiplying it by the 16 pixels, and that can give you roughly what we are doing here as far as size goes. Then it says you also want to set the top and bottom margins to 5 pixels, and the left and right margins will be removed, which will be 0. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're coming up here. Let me back out of this. Let me go back down to where we actually want to edit the code and do note. And let's do the following. We want font size to be 0.6. Next is going to be the 5 pixels for the top and bottom margins. So margin 5 pixels, and then nothing for the left and right. So we'll do 0 for it. There we go. Let's go and check our code. Congratulations. It says go ahead and submit the code to continue. Step number 68 in building a nutritional label for freeCodeCamp. It tells us that we need to give the note selector a left and right padding of 8 pixels and removing it from the top and bottom. So the way that we're going to do that padding, again, it goes in a clock format, and we start with the top. If we're just doing the same values to the top and bottom, just like we saw in the margins, it says top and bottom, we need it to be 0. Okay, so we're removing it altogether. And then when it comes to the left and right, those are the same as well. We're going to do 8 pixels there, and you'll see the text kind of change. So we're not getting any padding whatsoever in the top and bottom, left and right. We are able to do that. Next on here, it says the text indent. And I did want to bring up W3 schools. Again, if you're not familiar with any kind of property and what it does, anytime we get something new, sometimes I like to go ahead and talk about it, bring up W3 schools as a great source for this information. It says on here that the text indent property will specify the indentation of the first line only of that text box. You are able to have negative values, so make sure that you realize that the first line will be indented to the left if that value happens to be negative. And probably what we are compensating for here is that asterisk, is my belief. So we'll have to see on what that actually entails. So we're going to do text indent, and we're going to set that to -8 pixels. And you can kind of see that it did in fact move the top line only of that, but kept the padding and everything else from the top, or from the rest of the lines going down. Okay, so cool. All right, let's go ahead and check our code. Congratulations. And this is the last one. We are 100% done. So you made it to the end. Hopefully this video helped you and along with your journey. If it did, make sure that you comment down below. What kind of step did you get stuck on? Because we would love to hear those types of comments or having those types of feedback on these videos. With that being said, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and thanks for liking the video. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.